think about the worst day that you have in your current situation, right? And then compare that to the worst day that you could have in a situation of owning your own business. How do those two line up, right? I would encourage everybody to look first at the things that make you happy, that get you excited, that ultimately give you an opportunity to do what will motivate you to get out of bed in the morning.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today, we have a guest joining us from really one of the premier franchise groups out there. They have 10 brands, all sorts of different kind of shapes and sizes with them, B2B, B2C, super pretty things that are like down and dirty and need to be done. And just an absolutely amazing culture, great leadership team, fantastic group. I'm excited to have them come on board, talking about a little bit about their brands, a little bit about kind of their overall group, as well as some key things to be able to take away that make a great franchise owner, regardless of the franchise, and maybe tell you it's not actually for you, and that's okay too. So that is coming up next on the Franchising 101 podcast.
What if your 9-to-5 job didn't last forever? What if there was a better way to create professional success your way without fear of layoffs or downsizing? What if I told you that it's all possible through franchise ownership? Franchise ownership gives you a proven playbook to execute so you can be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But with thousands of franchises out there, how do you know which is the best one for you? That's where FranCoach comes in. FranCoach will help build out your ideal business model based on your talents, skills, and core values. Then use our proprietary knowledge of the franchises to bring curated options based on what you want, and then guide you through the vetting process until we find your best match. Individualized, personalized, and 100% free to you. Ready to control your future? Scan the QR code or visit francoach.net and let FranCoach help create your better tomorrow.
All right, folks, we are back here on the Franchising 101 podcast, and joining us from, like way over there on the other side of the country in Virginia is the Chief Development Officer of Empower Brands, the one and the only Mr. Scott Sutton. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Tim, man, great to be here. And yes, way over in the great state of Virginia. How about that?
Yeah, I, as a little bit of a college football fan, and the coach that got me into being a Crimson Tide fan is no longer there. Your OU stuff behind you is kind of bugging me a little bit. Just I'm throwing that out there, but
I understand it. I get it. At the same time, Bama fans and Oklahoma fans lock arms. We are two of the true blue bloods. Here's a trivia question for you. For those that are creatives, Pantone 203 is the official color of the Oklahoma Crimson. It is the same color at the University of Alabama. So we not only share lots of titles and lots of accolades, but we also share the same Pantone color, which is fun. I love Alabama. I love their fans. It's always a great game. Great fans, great people. It's always better, of course, when we come out on top. So there you have it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In the very first football game of the year, Alabama played at Florida State, and my wife is loyal, like go Noles. And so we went to the game, and you talk about being very conflicted in, I like Alabama, I like my wife. So yeah, I was go Noles. I was, and it's hard not to get caught up when it's the home team anyway. And who would have thought back then that they would be on the path they were now, but little crazy. And,
wow. And in that scenario, Tim, the good news is in that situation, you can't lose.
I think
right?
I took the wiser path by Go Knowles that day. So there's the, roll tide, whatever, but happy wife, happy life. So, and I know all 7 of our listeners are excited to hear us talk about college football
Right.
today. I think it was Empower Brands that we were supposed to be talking about. And look, I got like a whole slew of questions. I'm excited to talk to you and appreciate your time. But this is, as you know, you've been in the industry a while. This franchising is a people business. I love just hearing stories. So how did you get yourself roped into this whole crazy world of franchising?
Tim, it is a great question to ask, particularly amongst those that have been around the space as long as have I. And that's generally brings about a whole different set of experiences and paths. It's not necessarily something, for example, you go to college to study, but I was in college and had an opportunity to be an intern for a franchisor that was in the fast food space. That was my introduction to franchising. I came out of college and happened into a business that was actually forming a franchise business in the petroleum space, and got to be a part of bringing that to life and scaling it, something that I don't know that I truly appreciated at that young age. You think about what you learn in business school, man, we were learning that on the ground in real time. It mattered. It wasn't a whiteboard. It wasn't a business case. It wasn't a case study. It was actually happening live in real time. And that really shaped for me a couple of different things. The first thing that it shaped was the reality of what business ownership really meant and what it means for human beings as people that are caring for their families, their employees, their communities, and what the overall impact does, not just for us in the United States of America, but really across the globe. I didn't have a full appreciation of that. The second piece was this franchise development piece where you're working with individuals to help them achieve, in many cases, their life goals. And the hook got set, Tim. It got set really early, and I've been incredibly fortunate and humbled to work with some of the best companies in franchising, culminating with the role that I have today at Empower Brands, which is, in my opinion and in my experience, really the compilation, the amalgamation of what every company I've worked for has strived to be in each specific area of the business. You pull all those things together, and Empower's got something really, really special. I'm just excited to be a part of it.
No, and glad you're. And it's been what, like, how long have you been there now? 3 years?
3 years. You're right on.
Time flies with that. And I think one of the things that I want to talk, we'll get into the brands underneath the Empower brand, but I've always been blown away by the culture. And I know that's a buzzy word, but doesn't mean it doesn't exist within Empower Brands. And one of the things is the longevity of the people who are there. Like, you're the 3 years, you're the newbie. There are multiple other places in this industry where you'd be like the most tenured person by 2.5 years. So talk a little bit, I guess, maybe just background on Empower and kind of what people really can come to expect with Empower Brands.
Yeah, it's an interesting story because we think about my tenure with the company is 3 years, and the name Empower Brands has been around for about the same amount of time. Now, the folks that have led the company, that have grown the company, that have put this incredible collection of brands together, they've been with the business for decades. And when Lynx Franchising, which has been a key player in the B2B side, partnered up with the former Outdoor Living Brands business, predominantly on the residential side of the business, when those two entities came together, it fit really, really well. It still fits really, really well, but it was still a company of two companies. And so Scott Zeid, our CEO, the team came together and said, let's come together and really understand who we are as an organization. What is our culture? What is our passion, our purpose? And then the name Empower came last, based on all of the work to really define the culture of the company. And the culture is very simply, we have a passion inside of Empower, and that passion reads to champion the success of our franchisees. And that leans into being franchisee-centric, franchisee first. These are all buzzwords, Tim, that that you've heard before and I've heard before.
Right. Wait, you're saying that the franchise owner actually matters, Scott? What are you serious with that? It's kind of a.
I know it seems like a crazy notion.
It shouldn't seem that way, but it can a little bit. So sorry, I derailed you on that. But I like even, and for those that can see this, which you get to see our two handsome faces, but behind Scott, it literally says champion the success of franchisees. So I love it. It's right there.
It is, and it's what we live every day. It's really, that passion is built by and embodied by everyone in the company, but it goes all the way back. You think about our CEO, Scott's side, his wife, Erin's side. Erin is on the development team. Scott's our CEO. They're former franchise owners. 7 other members of our leadership are former franchise owners. That's different. We believe it to be a differentiator, particularly in the scope of a large 10 brand private equity backed portfolio like Empower. At our core, we understand, we know what that journey is like for franchise owners, and what better way to help educate the new candidates coming in, the new franchisees coming in, than buy-in through people that understand what day one is like and what day 365 is like and beyond. And that's I think for me as a practitioner in the franchise development space, it's an important piece to be able to understand and convey to candidates that this is an organization built by franchisees that understand the path to franchise ownership for people trying to achieve their goals.
Yeah, because it's not always rainbows and unicorns, right? As a franchise owner, and so having somebody that has literally walked the walk, good, bad, and indifferent, that is also still so believes in the brands, right? It's not like I was a franchise over here and that brand sucks, so I took off and came over here to work here. Like the Empower folks just don't leave, man, right? And so, which again tells you that overall belief of what's being done within their brands, which is super cool.
It's stark, right? I think it's interesting when I talk to people, this whole notion of being on the college cycle. I've been here 3 to 4 years, and then I'm going to go to the next stop. 3 to 4 years, and then 3 to 4 years, or in some cases, maybe it's 4 to 5 for those of us that may have been on a different college cycle. At Empower, Jane Campbell is our vice president of franchise development marketing. She assumed that role on October 1st, just a month or so ago, right? She's been with the company 16 years. So that's the kind of story when you look across the organization that you see. And it is different, and it's fun as well.
Yeah. So, all right. So pop quiz. First question, how many brands in Empower?
We have 10 brands in the portfolio, Tim.
Name them.
Okay, we're going to go with Architect Outdoor Living. We've got Bumble Roofing. We've got Canopy Lawn Care, Conserva Irrigation, First Team Restoration, Jan Pro, Koala Insulation, Outdoor Lighting Perspectives, Superior Fence and Rail, and Wallaby Windows.
And you know what I screwed up there? I was going to make you do it in reverse because I've experienced your like Rain Man-esque like rattling those off. So you've got 10 children within Empower Brands. Which one's your favorite?
Oh boy, man! I every single brand has its own nuance. It's very special. Everybody asks me that, Tim. I can't. I just can't.
How many actual children do you have?
I actually have 2 children.
Which one is your favorite?
So my favorite son is Cooper, and my favorite daughter is Taylor. So let's put it that way.
Okay, good job. Because I've asked that of somebody before, and they're like, "Oh, I can't possibly say which is my favorite brand." And I've asked that, and there's been a very definite answer. So yours was also equally diplomatic. So Cooper and Taylor, we love them equally. We love all 10 Empower brands equal. We've got a little bit of a mix. We've got a couple that are on the B2B side, a little bit more on the B2C. I think the biggest name people either may know or it's probably all around them and they just don't realize it is Jan Pro, right? And then which is commercial cleaning. What the heck is this first team thing, which you also can't even spell correctly because I think we're missing the I in there, right? So talk about that, because that is very different than what I'm sure there are people who don't even know this type of business exists.
Yeah, it is. And the letters fit together really, really well, despite the fact that it may not be spelled to some folks' liking. Right. I will tell you that First Team is a restoration brand. And for most homeowners, hopefully, they never have to deal with anything restoration related. The typical restoration thinking will be, I had a fire at my home, it destroyed walls and windows. And so a typical restoration service would be to come in and replace those walls, rebuild the part of the home that's been impacted. First Team is different. First Team is a contents restoration brand. It's the top brand in its category. Basically, if you have an incident in your home, let's say that you're cooking that turkey and something happens, you have a fire, smoke damage is throughout the home, you may have to have physical work done in your kitchen. But if you lift your house and you turn it upside down and you shake it, everything that falls out is what First Team is going to restore. So in that silly example of the turkey fire, if your clothing has a smoky smell, if you've got electronics that have been damaged, those are the things that the First Team franchise owner will come into the home, pack those things out, restore them, refurbish them, and then deliver them back so that they can be used by the homeowner after that incident. Like Bumble Roofing, First Team is typically working with homeowners at a place, at a point in their ownership journey where things have gone really, really badly, right? Whether it's a home fire or a tree limb falling through a roof. So on the restoration side, caring for the client and ensuring that we're caring for their physical items is front and center in everything that those First Team restoration franchise owners are doing.
I love it. And even a few years ago, when I think it was First Team was the first kind of franchise of this concept that I heard of, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, that's a thing? And then I love how you're like you shake everything out, and even the fact of like, and then again from an insurance standpoint, it's cheaper for the insurance company to have somebody restore everything back to good versus having to replace everything. So
that's right. That's right. Exactly right.
Replacing my VCR might be a little bit costly, right? So they can just fix that thing and dust off my cassette tapes, will be in good shape. So, okay. So, and you kind of, those two are like need-based, I guess you might say, right? Like nobody's wanting First Team to come there. I don't necessarily, I know with Bumble Roofing, there are some times where I might want them to come because it's time, but we're not dreaming about the day we get to do like repair my roof. There's also some things within Empower that they're the pretty brands, right? And where people do get to like really make a choice. This is something that excites me that I really want. So talk about a couple of those brands.
Yeah, I think about them from a beautification perspective, and both of those brands have been around a very long time. We're talking about Archidec Outdoor Living and Outdoor Lighting Perspectives. Archidec is actually the oldest brand in the portfolio, began franchising in 1985. Tim, think about it. Where were you in 1985?
I was in diapers, Scott. Clearly, I was just barely born.
Clearly. Oh boy. So, Archidec Outdoor Lighting Perspectives, not that much farther after Archidec did OLP come on the scene and in the mid to late 1990s and begin franchising. But these are the beautification brands. These are the brands that bring to a homeowner real value in terms of the way that the home is displayed, presented. In the case of Archidec, Archidec franchise owners are helping homeowners realize and bring to life spaces in the yard outside of the home where I love to tell folks it's where people live, laugh, love, and connect, right? It might be a patio with a seat wall and a fire pit. It might be a sunroom or a deck, screened-in porch. These are projects that are meaningful for homeowners, and Archidec brings those to life, really out of the mind of the homeowner into a CAD and ultimately into real life through that construction process. OLP beautifies the home through outdoor lighting. On the residential side, there are commercial applications to OLP, obviously. A lot of work being done to generate revenue in that channel, but the core business is supporting homeowners with permanent lighting, outdoor lighting, and now a significantly growing segment of that business is holiday lighting. Yeah. So an evolving brand over time for sure.
Yeah, no, I know if OLP was open where we live in Florida, my wife would be on that in a hot second. And I always think Architect, you go to, nothing else, folks, just go to architect.com and just look at the pictures. Even if you don't want to own it, you're going to want to be a customer because you're like, ooh, I want that. Like, and I got some dirt and a couple lawn chairs in the back. So I'm very much in need of those services. So, but super cool. And you're really making things a lot better. What are we missing? Is Superior Fence and Rail, which kind of a little bit of the same thing, right? How do you guys categorize Superior versus maybe like a Architect and OLP?
Superior absolutely has a design element to it, right? It can be part of that beautification, but we talk a lot about people, puppies, and pools, right? And what's driving the need for fencing, and you got people, you got puppies, you got pools, and you could add the next P, which is privacy, but it is less of a want. And we're starting to see that it is really a need, not just from the new homeowner that's putting in that first-time fence, but you've got this cycle around what was in vogue, what people really like to install 15, 20 years ago, isn't necessarily what new homeowners want to have wrapping around their backyard. And so you're having these retrofits, these teardowns and rebuilds of fencing. So less of a want, more of a need, but does kind of straddle that line between something that is needed and something that is a beautification element to the home and has a design element to it.
Right. And then again, we stay outside with two that kind of can tie together a little bit with canopy, lawn care, and Conserva irrigation. I'm not super smart with Conserva. I'm guessing it's irrigation related. But give us a little kind of peek at those two.
Yeah, Conserva, the first ever irrigation franchise in the category, created the category, has been a monumental success, really leaning in to what more and more homeowners are focused on, which is smart irrigation of their yards, being able to utilize fewer gallons of water to cast across larger areas of their lawn through proper maintenance, the better actual systems that can be installed and retrofitted to make sure that costs are coming down, usage is optimized. Just a really great brand as we've thought about how it's grown over time. It's a great example of meeting the homeowner where they are and understanding where they're going. Today's homeowners, they actually enjoy spending less money on their lawn irrigation, number one, and also doing something for the environment. Canopy's really similar. Canopy's approach to lawn care, I love the way that Hunt Davis and Ben Wright talk about it, the founders of that business. They refer to the service and the product that they're putting on the lawn to create a healthy green grass. They refer to that like we refer to diets, right? And so their approach to lawn health is what we would categorize as, the eating the right foods, exercising daily, right? Making sure we're getting sunshine and vitamin D, just the typical healthy way to get to being healthy. Whereas a lot of the other providers' solutions is what we would consider to be a fad diet, right? And so they're focused on organic materials primarily that are fertilizing the lawns to build healthier roots, dense, healthier plants. And ultimately, when you have that density alone mitigates a lot of the growth from weeds. So instead of just pumping chemicals to kill stuff, they're actually balancing that with product that creates health in that grass plant to actually squeeze out the opportunity for weeds to grow. So just a different take. What's the benefit? Lots of benefits on the product side, caring for the environment. The result is a green yard, right? That's weed free. And ultimately that's what, consumers want to see when they're comparing their yards to their neighbors.
Yeah. And I would think both of those brands, really an architect, maybe not visible from the street, but OLP, Conserva, and Canopy, there's going to be like a noticeable difference in my house versus the neighbor's house, right? And you're like, oh, what are you doing to get your lawn to look like that, or your house to, years ago, I lived next subdivision over from an OLP owner in the Phoenix area. And it was so funny to go by his house at night because it was like lit up like crazy. And then dark, lit up, dark, lit up. So you knew who his customers were on his own street because it was dramatic, and it just like it looked so much better. So like I'm sure there's a lot of, once you get into a neighborhood for any of those brands, it's only a matter of time before your phone rings with somebody right down the street.
It is so funny that you said that. In a prior home that we owned, you took a right on our street. It was kind of a straight shot, and it went all the way down into a cul-de-sac, and sitting right at the end of the cul-de-sac. Beautiful home, a little bit up on a hill. And the guy that owned it is a pilot for American Airlines. And he tells this story. He said, I went on a trip. I came back at night and my house was lit up. And he and his wife had been talking about installing this exterior lighting. OLP came out, they installed it. And the fascinating thing, Tim, was no one else on the street had exterior lighting. But within 6 months, I was customer number 2, right, on that street, because I'm looking at his house going, that is incredibly beautiful. I love the way it lights up his house. So it was me and then a neighbor. Before you know it, 10 or 15 of the homes had been lit up. And the street, the actual street itself, when you're driving down at night, it's just beautiful. It's breathtaking. Yeah. So really cool story.
The town just turned off the street lights, so they were saving money because everybody else had it all nice and lit up. What are we missing? We're missing Koala.
Koala insulation. Yeah, Koala insulation. It is one of our beloved brands, also in a space where there is a significant advantage for the homeowner. Whether that's spray foam capabilities, blown in insulation, obviously a key part of what's done, but the degree to which homes, Tim, are under insulated or not insulated. And I think people forget that before about 1980, there was no requirement that you put insulation anywhere in a home. So the older homes out there they're either under insulated, they're not insulated, or the insulation that was provided has now degraded to a level where there's a real return on the investment to improve the insurance rating, the insulation rating in the walls. So Koala's been a radical success for us in meeting that need. And then there's also applications that are coming in different areas of the business that are outside of the home to utilize the same kind of service equipment to bring about some additional capabilities. That's coming down the pipeline. So I'll be excited to share with that when we launch it.
Awesome. So with each of these, I'm sure there are slightly different traits that might be in an owner that's going to own Architect versus Koala, right? Or Conserva versus Superior. But with Empower in general, talk about some things just that are really important to you guys in, hey, this might be a good prospective owner just for Empower, regardless of the specific brand.
Yeah, I think, for us, there's 3 legs of the stool. I'll speak to each of those, but stepping back from that for a moment, we recognize that business ownership is not easy, right? It can be incredibly rewarding. And if you're partnering with the right organization within the right brand, then that's a significant step towards success in and of itself. When you look at the 3 things that we're really focusing in on, Tim, the 3 legs of the stool are this. Number 1, your perspective. Are you a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person? When you get out of bed in the morning, are you excited and positive about the day ahead? The mindset piece, whether it's our brands or any business ownership opportunity, is so incredibly important. We look for that. The second leg of the stool is this notion, this concept of be easy to work for, right? That doesn't mean that you sit back and don't manage. You need to manage, but be easy to work for by setting expectation, holding people to accountabilities, and developing individuals to achieve their goals, right? That's what we mean when we say be easy to work for. The third leg of the stool, grit over quit. Think about that, grit over quit. I love when I'm having the opportunity to talk to candidates and they tell me about how difficult the last 10 years have been within the company for which they're working, right? The difficulties of a takeover or a merger or a reorganization or a downturn in their business, and what they had to do instead of running away, right? What they had to do to buckle down, reimagine, reinvent, the difficult decisions that had to be made. Those conversations are revealing because they start to tease out this notion of grit over quit. There are going to be difficult days in business ownership. Yes. And you've got to commit, right? You've got to be gritty. You've got to be willing to get out there and make that business successful in that local community. So grit over quit is an incredibly important aspect of what we're testing for as we engage with folks that are interested in business ownership.
Yeah, and I think they all kind of go together too, right? Because if you're a glass half empty, you're not going to be easy to work for, and you're just going to pack it in when things get tough, right? And there's so many things we hear all the time with our clients when you start talking about how we're going to build out a team for you as a franchise owner. Like, boy, there's so much fear and there's labor issues, and I could go on and on and on about there's no labor issue, or maybe a little bit, but the true issue is leadership, right? And if nobody wants to work for you, like, don't be blaming them for the turnover. Like, there's a mirror in your bathroom somewhere. Take a peek, and you're going to find your turnover problem with this. And so I like that those things all go together. And you also have a group within Empower leadership, of Empower, and then of the brands. So many of them have, they're not just saying it, they've experienced it as franchise owners. They know, and for some of yours were early adopters in those brands, and that's even harder to be able to go and to be successful. So again, I think I love those three things, and I'm glad you're able to kind of talk about that and share that a little bit. Is it hard sometimes to kind of suss that out with people, or are you guys okay really laying those things out, and maybe it scares somebody away?
Yeah, and it's both of that, both of those things, right? I think about our process, and the first step in our process, Tim, we refer to that step as diagnose. And what we mean by that is really diagnosing what is the problem statement for the candidate. And in some cases, it may not be a problem they're trying to solve. It may be an opportunity they're trying to achieve. And so really digging in deep to understand the why, what is the problem they're trying to overcome, and how have they overcome challenges prior to this point. Yeah. Really getting to know someone, getting to know an individual, their story and their path is how we're able to start to understand a couple of different things. And we talk about the three legs of the stool, but also, are they a good fit or not for our company and or the brand of interest? And they may not be ultimately the right fit for a particular brand that they're digging into, but there may be another brand in the portfolio that's more appealing, right? And right. We have a history of being able to expose and pivot folks into the brands that may be a better fit. But there are times, Tim, where it's just not the best fit for the individual. And we're okay having those conversations. We owe it to the candidate to have those conversations. And for us, that means, we're moving down the path with folks that are a good fit, while at the same time, helping others understand, we may not be the best fit, but there may be other brands, other paths to business ownership that can be a better fit. Those are honest conversations that come when you build trust with individuals that take some time to do.
Yeah, well, and we've got an organization and a leadership that's genuinely, again, we're caring about the franchisee, and really before that, you're caring about the person, right? And there's a you won't say this, but I will. I saw you at a franchise conference recently, and you were speaking, and everybody within Empower and had an opportunity to share some things, but you followed a group that in the industry is technically here, you'll hear the term FSO, which is Franchise Sales Organization. And let me just help you folks. The word sales should never be used in this process at all. And all they talked about was sell, right? Like, did any of them get open, or are any of them successful? Do we give a rat's ass if any of them are successful? And then you got up there, and it was the most stark difference. It was like the cloud, the lightning, just all the things that are bad about an industry, followed by Empower Brands. And I know you're not going to say anything, and you're going to all shucks me with this, but it was one of the best contrasts I've seen in a long time in this industry of like, oh, yes, doesn't mean anybody should own Empower Brands in any way, shape, or form, but it showing how things really should be done, where we were focused on that single person. Is it the right fit? And if so, let's make sure we were doing everything in our power to help you succeed. And I wanted to take a moment kind of publicly to thank you for that, and really call out how that was so refreshing, especially based on the people you followed. So I want to just say thank you for that.
Tim, I appreciate that. It means the world. I will tell you that we understand that the value of our business and the value of what a customer receives in a local market is all based on the relationship that we have with franchisees. I spoke to it earlier, but fundamentally, the cultural alignment that Empower brings that matches up with what I experienced earlier in my career is this notion and reality that strong, healthy, successful franchise owners are achieving their goal. That's great. But they're caring for their families, they're caring for their employees, and they're the backbone of our communities. When they have success, they're lifting the community in a way that I think is hard for folks to see. And you just don't take shortcuts when you think about the impact of a business ownership opportunity on someone's life. And when it's done right, it is magical. It is a long-term relationship. So when you think about whether or not it's the right fit, as a candidate, can I get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Yeah. Remember, that's not a 3 months thing. That's not a 12 months thing. That's a long-term commitment on both sides. Make sure it's the right fit. Make sure you're comfortable working with the people that you're thinking about aligning with. And if you get that right, man, it is fantastic.
Yeah. So we're weeks away from rolling into 2026, which is hard to fathom how fast this year went by. So you're looking ahead into 2026. What's maybe a challenge that you see for Empower rolling into next year?
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest challenge as we think about that, readying ourselves for a number of brands that start to hit the season in the spring, right? And so this time of year, we've had a lot of momentum onboarding new franchise owners, getting them trained up and getting ready to hit the road to success when we get into that February, March, April timeframe. So for us, the biggest challenge is to make sure that all of our new franchise owners are lined up, they're ready to get launched. And let's not forget, we have a huge collection of existing franchise owners that are in year 2, year 3, year 5, year 10. And so for us, this is the time of year where we're getting ready to roll out the tactics, the support, the focus to drive franchisee success when a lot of the seasons hit, depending on the part of the country. So that's our biggest challenge right now. It's a great challenge to have as we think about what's ahead. I think if you listen to what's being said about calendar year 26, it indicates that consumers have some pent up spend. They're ready to feel less angst about what's gone on in the world over the last 12 to 18 months. So we're feeling confident that the market is there. We've got to make sure, and we're challenged every day to make sure that our business and our franchise owners are ready to take advantage of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So last thing I want to throw at you is you've been in franchising a long time. Somebody's sitting out there listening, gosh, is this for me? Just whether it's Empower, just franchising in general, what's maybe a piece of advice you would give somebody thinking about maybe pursuing this path?
Yeah, first and foremost, to me, think about the worst day that you have in your current situation, right? And then compare that to the worst day that you could have in a situation of owning your own business. How do those two line up? Right? I think if you're not trying to deal with a problem, I would say this. Business ownership is difficult. If you're considering that, I would encourage everybody to look first at the things that make you happy, that get you excited, that ultimately give you an opportunity to do what will motivate you to get out of bed in the morning.
Right.
And drive toward that. Right? It doesn't mean necessarily that it has to be a specific industry. It has to be a specific category of business. I've had a lot of people tell me, I love to build teams, right? Focus on a business that helps you build a team, right? Because if that gives you joy, if that gives you the type of return on that investment, that emotional investment, then chase it.
Yeah. No, well, and you're spitting out the FranCoach playbook there of like the get out of bed test, right? It is so much that if you can tailor that and really, it's difficult sometimes for people who've been in the corporate world for so long because you get brainwashed into, well, this is your path because that's just kind of how you started, but it's not really taken into effect. What are you actually good at? What do you want to do? Like, what kind of people do you want to be around? All of those things that factor in a ton. So. I love that you brought that up and just everything that we talked about today. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us today.
Man, it's always great hanging out with you, Tim. I can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity to come in and chat. So appreciate you very much.
Oh, no. And on the slim chance somebody wants to hear more of us, there's this is like the week of Scott Sutton and Empower Brands because tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, you can find this little TV show called the Franchising 360 Show with me. And then there's somebody else on the show too. I forget her name. So my lovely, incredibly talented better half, Danielle Wright, we're co-hosting that. We have Scott joining us tomorrow night. It was an episode so good. I don't know if I should give a spoiler alert, but it's so good. We actually invited him to come back the next week. So if you're not sick of Scott and me with Empower Brands, at least you get Danielle on the Franchising 360 show. So check that out. But Scott, my friend, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on and talking to us about our Empower Brands.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks again for tuning into the Franchising 101 podcast brought to you by FranCoach. I hope these episodes continue to educate you on the amazing possibilities that can be achieved through franchise ownership. In between podcast episodes, if you still want to learn more about franchising and the ways in which FranCoach can help, there are a few places for you to check out. First, tune in to the Franchising 360 show. It is the only nationally syndicated television show about franchising hosted by me and Danielle Wright. Our TV show airs every Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Biz TV. Next, check out the FranCoach YouTube channel, which is FranCoach for you. You can find tons of franchise-specific content there. Plus, you can catch past episodes of the Franchising 360 show. If you like to read, we encourage you to check out our book, Becoming a Franchise Owner. You'll never guess what it's about. And finally, when you're ready to take that first personalized step and explore the franchise industry further, please reach out to our amazing team at FranCoach. You can click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. There is never any fee for our service, so let us help you create your better tomorrow.